Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to draft the shirt sleeve block using the basic set-in sleeve. So obviously we're in the lab at the moment. I've simply selected my profile or my measurement, either using our standard size charts or also putting in your bespoke measurements. I've selected the bodice block. The fit is close. Front, we have no seam, French. None of this really matters. It all depends on the sleeve, really. You can choose whatever you like. Seam for the back, French for the back, and our sleeve. I've clicked this, selected it. If you're familiar with cap ease, you can adjust this between 1 and 3 centimeters. Otherwise, leave it at our default setting. You can reset to defaults using this button here. Next, click on the next button. Once again, you don't have to worry about seam allowance because all of the E patterns, which is what we use for our tutorials, do not come with seam allowance. We have a tutorial that shows you how to add seam allowance after you've finished your pattern. So once again, I'm going to download my bodice block and basic set-in sleeve. You want to do these together simply because once you've amended the sleeve, you might not be able to find your bodice block, and this sleeve is designed to fit this bodice block once you've created it. So download both of these. So first let's go for our bodice block. Let's just save it in a new folder. We're going to call this shirt sleeve tutorial. New folder. And we're going to name this 003 bodice block. Save. And then going to go to my set-in sleeve. Save it, and it will be 003, so it's the same, they relate. Click Save. Okay, we can now navigate away from the lab and go to Illustrator. Let's just open AI, go to File, Open, look on our desktop. Here we have our shirt sleeve tutorial and we have our two blocks, they're SVGs. Let's open the basic set-in sleeve, click Open. And as you can see, we have our block. If you're unfamiliar with drafting patterns in Adobe Illustrator, then we have a nice little tutorial that shows you a few tips and tricks on how to actually use the package, including navigating around the page. To do that, you can simply use the spacebar, click and drag. Also, you can use Command for Macs or Control for PCs, plus, Control plus 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 to zoom in, Control minus 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 on your keyboard to zoom out. Okay, so to produce my shirt block, I'm simply going to start off by, let's zoom out, I'm going to edit my artboard. I'm going to need a little bit more space so I can actually produce my cuff and obviously amend this sleeve. So to do that, we're going to go to File, Document Setup, and then we have Edit Artboard, and that just allows us to then drag that up. In fact, now let's go from the bottom, because the cuff will be at the bottom. Okay, and then simply click off to lock that artboard. Okay, so next, very simply, I'm going to get rid of some of these assets first of all. So using my big selection tool, actually no, first of all, as you can see, this pattern is grouped. So if I click on it using my big selection tool, the pattern's grouped. I'm going to go Object and then Ungroup. This allows you to simply edit individual attributes within the block. Next, this block has a fill as well of white. I'm going to remove that simply by clicking. If you click on the fill, it brings it to the top, and then you can simply delete. The reason why is now I can actually click and drag within that block without it actually selecting the block underneath. Let me show you. So now we have a fill again. If I try and you see, I can't select anything by dragging and dropping because we're moving that block. So let's just remove that white fill, and then let's remove the elbow line text. Let's also zoom in and remove these text items as well because they're a little bit annoying. There we go, perfect. Okay, so to start drafting my shirt block, first of all I want to make a decision. So how wide or how deep is my cuff going to be? So I'm just going to get my text tool and write. I'm going to go for 3.5 centimeters is quite a nice cuff width or depth. Let's just put that there so I know, I don't forget. So first of all, we're going to get our small selection tool. I'm going to select these points along the bottom here, just like that. You can see they've all been selected. If it's a dark blue point, it means it's selected. If it's a light point, it means it's not selected, although it's blue because it is still part of that same object. So let's just click and drag over those points there. Let's go to hit your Enter key on the keyboard, and here we have a horizontal and vertical move. So we're not going to move horizontally, left or right, we're going to go up and down. So this is going to be 0 centimeters, tab down, and this is going to be my 3.5 centimeters. The reason why is because obviously my sleeve, the block that we have originally, is a certain length. Let me cancel this quickly. This is the full length of our sleeve. This actually hits our our wrist. So if we add a cuff to this, it's going to go past our wrist, and it's going to be too long. So whatever cuff size we have to minus this from the actual block itself. So once again, let me just select those points with the small selection tool, hit my move key, 0, and then vertical we want to go up. So to go up we type minus, and we have 3.5, which is my cuff depth. And let's click preview, and as you can see, it's moving those points up. If we were to do 3.5, it would move them down. Okay, so we want to go up, minus 3.5. Lovely, let's click OK, and there they are. So we now have 3.5 centimeters taken off the bottom of our cuff. Next, okay, we want to reduce the width of our cuff, or the circumference of our cuff, by 2.5 centimeters on either side. This will give us a much more contoured or tailored fit. So with your small selection tool, simply click on that or select that little point, move tool again, take the preview off, and then we're going horizontally this time, and we're going to the left, which means it's a minus 2.5. Vertically, we're not going up or down, we're just going to the left, so it's minus 2.5. Let's just preview. Yep, it's moved at 2.5 to the left. Let's click OK. On the other side, we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to select that point with our small selection tool, hit enter, take off the preview, and this time we're going to go plus 2.5. Okay, preview, there we go. Pulled it in. Let's click OK. Fantastic. Alright, next what we want to do is create a point. To do this, sorry, I'm a little bit ill at the moment. I don't mean to sniff. Next, we're going to create a point. So navigate over to your line segment tool, click it. I just want to click and then drag. Hold down your shift key at the same time, and that will lock it to a nice horizontal vertical axis. Okay, let's just draw it roughly about a centimeter. You can see in that grey box it's telling me that it's about a centimeter long. It doesn't matter, it's just a mark we're creating. Let go, and you have your line. You can then change the line colour by double clicking over here, and let's go for a nice Pattern Lab blue. And then let's go to stroke, and then let's change that to 1 point, let's say. Click enter, and there we have our point. I'm then gonna, with my big selection tool, select this, and then copy, Control C, and paste, Control V on your keyboard. Next, as you can see, when we select it, we have these little rotation arrows. I'm then simply just going to click and rotate. Once again, if you hold down the shift key, it'll lock it to 45, 90 degree axis. Let go, and then simply click and drag until those two intersect, and it's a nice cross. If you want to be really posh, you can go to your line tools, click horizontal line and vertical line. That makes sure it's perfect. Next, you want to make sure you group this so you can actually move it around as one element, because at the moment they're individuals. So let's just select all of them, go to Object, then Group. Next, we're going to move this to this point here, okay, where this straight down line meets your new cuff. Next, we're simply going to select this point. We're going to hit our Move key, and we're going to move this 0.75. Oh, not horizontally, sorry. This is going to be 0. We're not going left or right, we're going up. And we're going to move this point minus 0.75 vertically upwards, hence the minus. Preview, just to make sure. That's perfect. Let's go OK. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to start shaping the bottom of this sleeve, okay? Because we want to have it so it fits beautifully on the wrist. So to do that, this is our point for our bezier, but we need to make sure we have a point here. Now we have a point here and here, but this line, we can't actually amend it. So I'm going to go to my Convert Anchor Point tool. I'm going to click and hold, and then there's Add Anchor Point tool. I'm then going to click. You can also do this by minus. If I click minus on the keyboard, you can minus points. If you click plus on the keyboard, you can then add points. Okay, so that's a good little sort of like trick to remember. So let's just add a point here. Then let's go to our, once again, click and hold, Convert Anchor Point tool, let go. And then we have this cool little tool, okay, which is a Convert Anchor Point. And what it allows you to do is basically create curves using beziers. Now the thing that I have my pointer on is a bezier. So the closer you get to your point, the more acute the curve is. The more further away you get, the more obtuse the curve is. Now we're going to use that blue point that we created earlier as the location for our bezier. Now, obviously we're not going to do it that way round, because that's going to be a broken cuff. So just make sure you bring that just like that and let go, and then you have a beautifully curved bottom to your cuff. Let's just also bring this line down. Now, obviously you can move this anywhere, so hold down Shift, and it will lock it to that vertical. Let's just move it down with this one, click, and move it up. That's using your small selection tool. Click the line, then click the point, click and drag, and you can move it around. Wonderful. Okay, next we're going to take our little blue point that we've made here. We're going to use it again. It's like a tool or an element that we can move around. So big selection tool, click on it, or simply click on it, and then let's move it to this other point, okay, which is where the back quarter line, see, this is the back from the two notch points, this is the front, where the back quarter line meets our new curved cuff. Next, I'm going to click on it with my big selection tool. I'm going to hit the Enter key to move it, and we're not going to go horizontally, we're going to go vertically up. Now this is up to you, it's completely your choice here. This is the split at the back of a cuff. If you see on the back arm of any shirt, you'll see there's a little opening. This allows you to put your arm through and then do the cuff up. So this is the thing that allows you to slip your hand through. Now this can be as long as you want, it all depends on design concept. Usually I'd work with about 4.5 centimeters, which is roughly about here, but there's no reason why you couldn't have it up here and have multiple buttons. It's completely your choice. But anyway, let's just stick with a standard shirt sleeve for now, and we can come back to this at a later point when we have more tutorials under our belt. So, with the big selection tool, let's click on it, hit the Enter key, let's move it, not going horizontal. We're going to go up vertically by, up to you, but I'm going to go minus 4.5 centimeters, and I'm going to click OK. Great, so this is now the point at which this sleeve will open. Okay. So next, I'm simply going to get my small selection tool. I'm going to click on this line, because we don't need this line anymore. It was here as a guide. So I'm going to click on this line. I'm then going to go to my cut tool, which is just here, the scissor tool. You can also hit C on your keyboard to bring that up. So I'm just going to go to my cut tool, and I'm going to cut where that point meets that line. Note that I have my line selected first of all, and then I cut. Next, small selection tool, let's just delete. Now I do that simply by selecting the line and then hitting my backspace, not once. You see, if I hit it once, I'm still left with the points. Hit it twice, that deletes both the line and also the points. Next, let's just make this so it looks like a pattern line. So I'm just going to click with my small selection tool, drag over, select. I'm going to go to my eyedropper tool, which is here. You can also hit I on your keyboard. And I'm just going to take the attribute of this line. Wherever the eyedropper goes, you can basically pick up that attribute for that line, if that makes sense. Okay? Makes it nice and easy. So that's our pattern. We can also remove this now because we don't actually need it anymore. So let's zoom out. This is our lovely sleeve block so far. We're not quite finished just yet. Remember, we have a cuff to create that's 3.5 centimeters. Also, this is a straight line from the sleeve head to the cuff. We want to change this so it has a nice curve to it, to contour the sleeve around the elbow, and also just, what can I say, just make it cleaner, smoother, nicer. Okay, the way that we do that is very simple. So first of all, let's, with our small selection tool, select, click and drag over that point. Let's go to the pen tool. Let's go to convert anchor point. So click and hold, and then release on the convert anchor. Then I'm going to click and drag. Now once again, we can see we can curve this line as much as we want. However, we have this elbow guide for a reason. I want you to curve this to the elbow line. Also, so we get it straight, hold down your shift key, and you see how it locks to 45 and also vertical and horizontal. So simply hold down your shift key and then drag that bezier up until we meet the elbow line. Also, don't worry about this line here, it's fine, this always happens. Simply, once you've finished and you've let go, go down to the bottom, click on this handle, click and drag, and you can then drag it back in to that point. And there you have your lovely finished sleeve. We want to do exactly the same with the opposite side, so once again, click and drag. There we go. Okay, I'm going down the bottom with this one, which is slightly annoying. So you can always let go at a point, pick up that handle once again, hold down shift, pull it up to the line, and let it go. With the bottom here, using your small selection tool, just click, that'll bring up your beziers, and then click on your convert anchor tool, and then just click that handle and bring it back to its location. Perfect. Okay, so now we have a really lovely curved, shaped, contoured sleeve block, or shirt sleeve block, and we have a really nice contoured wrist. Now remember, this is 3.5 centimeters up from your actual wrist, so we have to now create our cuff. To do that, really simple. I'm going to get my small selection tool, I'm going to click this line. You see here, we've got this point and this point. I want to measure the distance along this line from this point to this point. Now doing that on paper can be tricky. In Pattern Lab it's amazing and very quick and very simple and very accurate as well. So let me just click on that line with my small selection tool, and then let's go to the scissor tool, click, and then just cut there and cut here. Now you see that we've actually cut that line away from the main block. So if I now select it, it's its own element. Next, we want to go and find document info. Now if you do not have document info down this little side column here, you might see it just as that icon. Then simply go to Window, scroll down until you find document info, and it will pull it up for you. In your document info tab, or dialog box that pops up, in the far top right corner, simply click and make sure objects is ticked. Now here you can see, so if I select something, it displays the length of that object. So if I click on this line, it tells you it's 26.971 centimeters. Pretty accurate, huh? Amazing. So I now know the length of this line is 26.97. So next, I simply want to grab my box tool, because I want to create a cuff, and the cuffs are generally rectangular, straight, and then just going to click on the page and type in, well, yeah, it's already done for me, 26.91. It's because I've done it earlier. Also the height, or the depth of my cuff, which is 3.5, okay? Going to click OK. And there we have it, that's our cuff, which is perfect. However, this will only be the distance. This will just, there's no overlap, in other words. So if I wanted to have a buttoned cuff, this wouldn't work. It would simply, hang on, let me just grab this just to show you. This would sit there and there, okay? There would be no real opening or no overlap when it comes to the buttons, you see? Which is quite a nice design detail if that's what you're going for. However, if you want to overlap that and then add your buttons to it, I'm hoping this diagram makes a bit of sense, like so. Then it's very simple. You just need to add an additional amount. Now, we have a 3.5 centimeter cuff depth. I would say let's expand or extend this by 2 centimeters. That should accommodate any 1 size or 1 centimeter size button. So to do this, first of all, we should mark where this original line is. So with your line tool, simply click and then click and drag, and you can see it's roughly, just going to draw a little line, 0.2 or 0.9 centimeters long. Let's go to the stroke, let's make it 1 point. Let's then get a nice Pattern Lab color, and there we have essentially our notch. Let's just copy and paste that in, and let's put it on the opposite side as well. Okay, let's zoom in. Let's it's not quite in the right place. Let's just take it back. There we go. Okay, so we now have our notches. So we've located this point. Next, we're going to, with our small selection tool, click on this line, this end line, hit our move tool, and then we're going to minus, let's say, 2 centimeters, and then 0 for vertical, and hit preview. You see? And what that is doing is basically adding an additional amount of material that will overlap when it comes to this bit on your cuff. Okay? So, you can change this, it's completely up to you. I would say measure the diameter of your buttons. Let's just click OK. You can measure the, let's say, diameter of your button. So that's 1 centimeter button, and that looks like there's plenty of space there for that button. Okay? You could have 2, 3, whatever your design concept is. So you can always test it this way. Let's just delete those. Okay, great. So that's our cuff, and that is our sleeve block. Also, one thing I would recommend, so these are completely separate, so when it comes to moving these blocks around, you want to make sure they're grouped. So simply large selection tool, just select over the entire element, then go object and group. And what that does is, when you have your big selection tool, click anywhere and it will just pull everything. It'll select all of them together. So this, for example, you see none of it is grouped, which is a problem when it comes to moving your blocks around. So let's zoom out. Let's then select the entirety of that block. Let's just go Object, Group. There we go. And also, that elbow line, let's just small selection tool, click on that point and move it in so it's clean. There we go. We can also get rid of these lines now if we do not necessarily want them. It's completely up to you. Also, I would then label that elbow. There we go. And let's just drag that back into place. You can also change the font here if you want to. There we go, perfect. Also, I would now rename this to shirt sleeve. You can also say 3.5 cuff. It's always good to label your patterns. Well, we just move that in as well. Okay, so that is our finished shirt block and our finished cuff. The next thing to do now is simply add seam allowance to this, and then you can print it off as a multi-page PDF and then start placing it together. Okay. Once again, we have tutorials for that, which are linked to the very bottom of this post, or this tutorial. Thanks guys, see you soon.